What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another transfer targets video. This time we are focusing on central defensive midfielders. Obviously, it's well known that Spurs need a massive upgrade in CDM, with Bissouma not really performing well this season. Without another natural, really, central defensive midfielder, we need a monster six to come in next season to really push us on to the next level. You look at Man City with Rodri, you look at Arsenal with Declan Rice, we even look at Aston Villa with Douglas Luís. All the top teams now have got top CDMs that can get goal contributions, that are monsters in the middle of the park, and we need that to take us on to the next level. So in my opinion, this could be, it's either this or striker, our most pressing position to look forward to bring someone in, and we need to be probably spending big money on him as well. Definitely. So we have got 6 or 7 CDMs that we're going to go through today, and it'd be interesting to know your opinions on each and every one of them as well. First up, we are going to be looking at Europa League winner Éderson, 24 years of age, 30 million euros market value from Atalanta. He was an absolute monster in that Europa League final, and it's mad to think about. You're looking at Ademola Lookman, who scored a hat-trick on the day, but everyone's just waxing lyrical about Éderson for his performance. He was brilliant. I'm not sure if he actually got man of the match. It'd probably be hard to look away from Lookman for getting a hat-trick, but for me, he was man of the match that day. Yeah, and he was absolutely relentless in that midfield battle. He literally never stopped running throughout the whole game, and what I was really impressed with when he did receive the ball, his ability to get the ball forward with quality, had composure as well. He was really impressive, and Spurs have been linked with him for a while now, and it was really good to see him on a big occasion perform as well as he did. And I think that will only intensify the rumours of him leaving this summer, because what a midfielder. And the question is, can he be our number 6? Is he the kind of guy we think can be our Rodri or Rice or whatever? If you look at the pie chart, this is him kind of in the deep line role, which he's going to have to be at Spurs. He's going to have to be on the ball a lot. He's going to have good passing ability, but more importantly, defensively, he's going to have strong. He's going to have to cover a lot of ground. If we look at the pie chart, tackles, interceptions, pretty strong. Dribblers tackled, very strong. Aerials, he's really good aerially. Passing is pretty good. You can see here, the only question is pass completion's quite low, 50th percentile. So that's only an average score, which is fairly concerning, because with someone like in that position, their passing is going to have to be probably a bit higher. They can't be losing the ball too often. So he's got to, and also look at that dispossessed. He does seem to lose the ball maybe a bit too much. So that's a bit of a concern. In terms of how much he gets on the ball here, according to these stats, he gets on the ball above average amount, but still probably not as much as of the ball as you like as in a Tottenham number 6, where they're going to be the hub of that midfield, picking up the ball, setting the pace for a lot of games as well. So obviously Atlanta play a very intense style of play. They are very attacking. I wouldn't say they're the most possession-based team. They're a very intense, direct team.
They're more like transitional-based team.
They go for it very, very. Yeah, I don't know how to describe them. If I'm comparing them to like a Premier League team, maybe like I'm trying to think, or like maybe a Newcastle kind of thing. Very intense,
so very transitional.
Quite transitional, but they're very offensive. They flood forward a lot, like one of the most offensive teams. So
this is Gasperini we're talking about. Yeah. That is the kind of way, it's just relentless running, running all the time.
So obviously Tottenham are a pressing team, but whether he needs to find a way to be a bit more controlled at times, that isn't the way under Gasperini. So maybe that's why the stats are like that. But I think the stats are pretty strong in terms of him profiling for a number 6 in our system.
Yeah, 6 goals this season, 1 assist in this Atalanta team. I think if he comes to Spurs, I would like to see those numbers improve. But Mati Moretto just...
6 goals would be great.
6 goals, yeah, I'm selling the assist numbers as well. I'd just like to see the numbers improve in general. But yeah, 6 goals is great. I mean...
Bissouma got 6 goals this season.
Yeah, Bissouma didn't get 1 goal or 1 assist, neither.
Yeah, but the job for a number 6 isn't to score. If they get any goal is a bonus.
I understand that it's not their job to score, but when you look at all the top 6s in the Premier League now, they're all getting high numbers, like really high numbers. Rice, Rodri, and Douglas Luís.
Yeah, but these are the best in the world.
And that's what we need.
Rodri, we didn't call Rodri the best in the world because he's scored an assist. We called him the best in the world before that. That's only a bonus now. He's starting to score. You know what I mean? So
Like I'm not looking for a goal scorer, but they do score. It's a bonus.
Yeah, but I would like. No, I agree with what you're saying, but I would just like to see that added from our midfield as well. But what I was saying is, Matti Moretto is saying that it would take north of 50 million euros to get him out of Atalanta because they value him as a very important team member, and that is the kind of figure though that we need to be spending on this position.
At least.
At least, yeah.
Obviously, if we can get him for less, great. But like, this is a very important position which we need to be very careful. And what's it called? Money shouldn't be an obstacle in this position for our number one target, whoever we want, because it's so crucial we get the right person.
Yeah.
We can't be like taking a player who we're not sure about.
Yeah. Next up, we're looking at Martín Zubimendi of Real Sociedad, 50 million market value, 25 years of age. And this guy just seems to be getting better and better year on year. Been touted around for a lot of top clubs. Arsenal have been interested. I believe, I think Chelsea have been interested at times, maybe even Liverpool. I do feel like he might have his sights set on maybe one of the top clubs in the Premier League. But I think he's actually said that he's not leaving this summer.
Well, we'll have to wait and see when players have said that before and end up leaving. So maybe, look, he might not leave. Depends what the offer is. Obviously, Zubimendi is definitely a player very highly sought after, heavily linked with Arsenal. Obviously, Arsenal right now, Partey potentially leaving, Rice potentially becoming more of an 8. Maybe there is a slot for him in that number 6 position if Partey were to leave. So that'll be interesting if they went for him. In terms of his stats, profiles really pretty strongly in all most facets. He's not completely outstanding in many. Obviously, aerially very good, passing above average. He on the ball, he picks up the ball quite a lot as well. Gets a lot of touches in the middle third. Defensively, maybe his tackles, interceptions could be a bit better. Could get him a bit more involved, but he's definitely decent on the ball as well. Has done brilliantly for Sociedad over the last year. But would also cost a pretty penny, it's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like out of everyone on our list, he could be one of the less attainable ones.
I would say so.
But, you never know. If Spurs put their money where their mouth is and put in an offer that they can't refuse, an offer to him that he can't refuse, then you never know. But he's a top player. That's what we do know. But next up, who are we looking at? We're going to look at João Palhinha of Fulham, 55 million euro market value, 28 years of age. He's been one of the best CDMs in the league over the past couple of years. Nearly got a move to Bayern Munich off the back of that last summer, but it just didn't go through in time. And there was, he came back to Fulham, didn't he, just after the deadline closed with his tails between his legs a little bit after travelling out to Munich. But that he didn't let that affect him, did he? And he had another stellar season this year for Fulham.
Yeah, phenomenal defensive midfielder. When it comes to the defensive side of the game, there are a few better in Europe than João Palhinha in terms of the amount of ground he covers. Obviously, he's quite good technically as well. He's a decent passer. The way Fulham play, obviously, they're not the most possession-based team. So when you bring up his pie chart, you can see how well he performs defensively. To some of the top numbers in Europe that he's usually defensively top for tackles, interceptions, dribblers tackled, aerial, really strong. His on-the-ball numbers, not the best, but again, could be down to how Fulham play. All in the lower percentiles, really, for progressive passes, pass completion, passes into the final third. But generally, that's not really his job. He usually gets the ball and plays it quite simply.
He's more of an enabler, isn't he?
Yeah. Touches as well. As you can see here, he's not a player who gets lots of touch on the ball. Like, he doesn't drop deep and dictate the play. He usually likes to drive the ball forward a bit more. Doesn't seem to touch the ball too often. So again, in terms of him being a number 6, a few question marks whether he's got the composure to dictate a game that maybe we need. Off the ball, I think he's more than good enough. Probably one of the best we're going to have. I think his passing range is decent. But whether he can set a pace of a game, I guess, is a question mark.
Yeah, I do feel like he's underrated on the ball than maybe his stats show because of the way Fulham play. Because whenever I see him play, I do like what I see from him on the ball. But maybe you just don't see it as often enough. What he is really dangerous at is attacking set pieces. Like, he's always there and he's always causing defensive problems when Fulham got those attacking set pieces. 4 goals and an assist this season for Fulham. But at the age that he is at, 27 or 28 was it? 28. You're looking at it as more as maybe a short-term option with that price.
They nearly signed him for 70 million last summer. and now is a year older. I don't know if that price is reduced or not. Probably, I would assume not, because I assume his contract situation is still good. So
2028.
Yeah, very good. So I don't see that price dropping, especially because he's so good. So are we really going to spend that amount of money on a 28-year-old? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what it always comes down to with us, though. Like, are we ever going to spend that money on these kind of players? Maybe that's what we need to do, though, to take us to the next level.
Yeah, but I know, knowing the club, we're only going to spend that money on a player who at least is like got a long-term future here. It's not someone who's going to turn 30 soon.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to look at Leverkusen's Exequiel Palacios, 26 years of age, 40 million euros, has had an unbelievable season at the heart of the Leverkusen midfield in what was astonishing season, unbeaten. I think the first Bundesliga team to go unbeaten throughout the course of a season. Did lose in the Europa League final, which was their first loss all season, which is just crazy. Jabi Alonso, has got a real big tune out of him. And he's been good for the last few years, but he's had a real breakout year this year.
Yeah, obviously he's been in midfield with Granit Xhaka as well, and they've created an unbelievable partner relationship there in the middle, and he's been phenomenal, and he's really taken his level up a few notches since Alonso's been appointed. He's always been quite a cultured technical midfielder, but he's really added a bit of aggression to his game since Alonso's taken over. If you can see here, his pie chart is phenomenal. Obviously he is playing for the best team in the Bundesliga, so they are very dominant, but as you can see, literally he performs extremely well in every metric, apart from maybe aerials, but still above average, even in that metric, and that's his worst one. So I think he's had an unbelievable season. The only stumbling block here, as much as I would want him at Tottenham, I think he's perfect in that deep-lying role for us, because I think he can control the pace of the game. I do think defensively he's good as well. And the problem is, with Alonso committing for another year, I don't see him jumping ship. So unless there's a big offer, so I think we'll struggle to get him out of Leverkusen.
Yeah, it's weird because this is the first year you probably look at Leverkusen and say he might not be swayed by the flashing lights of the Premier League, because Leverkusen have never been that team, but now they've got Alonso. Now what they've shown this season, it's hard.
The Champions League,
exactly, it's hard to nab these players from Leverkusen. That's the thing. If this was a year ago, we probably could have got him.
Or if Alonso left.
But
the fact that Alonso said he's staying, and everyone seems to be as happy as they could be, unbeaten in the Bundesliga, I just can't see him, unless we offer a monstrous fee which Leverkusen can't ignore.
Yeah.
I don't see them winning to sell, and I don't see him wanting to leave.
Yeah, which is a big shame, because I feel like everyone that we're going to talk about on this list, he's probably the perfect fit for it. Next up is an interesting one. Manuel Ugarte of PSG, 60 million market value, 23 years of age. You cast your mind back to his Lisbon days, and he was one of the most sought-after midfielders, central defensive midfielders. You remember the game that Lisbon played against Arsenal in the Europa League last season? He was insane that game. He absolutely, he kicked them off the park at times, but I think he showed ability on the ball as well. He scored a brilliant goal that day, didn't he? Ugarte?
Was that him, or was it Pedro Gonçalves?
Or maybe it was Pedro Gonçalves. Maybe I'm getting mixed up a little bit. But since going to PSG, it just hasn't seemed to work out for him for one reason or another. He's in and out of the team. For the big games, he's on the bench and doesn't seem to see any game time. 25 games he's played for PSG this season, and a lot of them coming from the bench. So I'm not sure what's actually happened with him this season. But he still is only 23 years of age. Apparently, he's not happy there, and apparently he's looking for a way out.
Yeah, you got to cast your mind back to last summer. He was really highly sought after. I think we were in for him last summer, and I think Arsenal potentially were as well. Liverpool were in for him. And PSG seemed to steal ahead and earn his signature, spend a lot of money on him, but it hasn't quite worked out. I get the feeling, obviously Luis Enrique likes a certain style of play, and maybe he feels like Ugarte doesn't fit it. I'm not sure why, because I do think he should be a good player. Maybe it's an adjustment period for Ugarte, but I do think in terms of him being the number 6, he could be a good fit. Looking at his metrics. Obviously, tackles, interceptions, you see that, obviously one of the best. He's a really good defensive midfielder. Passing's a bit mixed. He has a high pass completion rate, but his progressive passes and passing to final third are not the best. So it kind of tells me he maybe plays it a bit safe, doesn't play it a bit risky enough, and maybe that's why
Luis Enrique change that.
Maybe that's why Luis Enrique doesn't fancy him. Feels like he plays it too safe, and that's a thing. If you can see on the possession, he definitely gets on the ball a lot. His metrics are really high for that in terms of his availability on the ball. Doesn't give the, but he looks like his dispossessed is quite high, so gives the ball away a bit, plays it too safe when he is passing. Although, so defensively looks strong, but maybe when it comes to can he really progress the ball good enough, I guess there are question marks about that. Not necessarily say he can't, because he's still only 23, but hasn't shown the ability to do that at a high standard yet.
Do you think he's a player that maybe, because of his situation at PSG, that he's attainable this summer?
I think if Luis Enrique's staying, which it looks like he is, I think potentially, because if he doesn't fancy him, I think you see, like in this day and age, players are more willing to move quickly. Look at what's his name, Gravenberch at Bayern, was there for a year, signed after a lot of fanfare, and after a year they didn't fancy him and he just left, and they sold him on a permanent. So I do think of these mega clubs, especially with all these financial rules, if they don't like a player and they're willing to get their money back, I think he would be attainable.
Yeah, and if this was a year ago, we would probably say it's a no-brainer. But now, because he's struggled a little bit at PSG, I mean, there are some question marks there. But anyway, let's move on to Benfica's Florentino, 24 years of age, 20 million market value. Looks like a brilliant player, to be honest. He's been at Benfica for a starting role at Benfica for the past 2 years, been a mainstay in the team, and his numbers look incredible. Yeah,
and he's had a really amazing season. He seems to be really showing what he's all about. In terms of technically, he looks like a phenomenal player. If you look at his underlying metrics, really, really high in all the on-the-ball underlying metrics. Defensively as well, really strong. The only ones he's quite low on, doesn't make many through balls, but he doesn't need to from his position. Aerially, he's not the best, so that's maybe a position which he needs to improve. But if you look at that, gets on the ball a lot, doesn't lose the ball ever. Pass completion really high, so makes a lot of his passes, and all of his progressive passes and passes into the final third are really high. So really good at progressing the ball forward at a really high rate as well, and consistently, and as well makes a lot of tackles, interceptions, so he gets around the pitch a lot. So to me, he seems like a really good fit.
Yeah, and at 24 years of age with a 20 million market value, I do think he will be going for a lot more than 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that,
know how to make
exactly. But how much did they get for Darwin Núñez? 70
million, and then João Felix.
Yeah,
they know how to make money.
They make a killing over there with their talent, but they produce so many good players, don't they, Benfica? Well, a few of these Portuguese clubs, Sporting Lisbon, do as well.
Carlos Vinicius.
I struggle to think, I don't think we go and spend a 60, 70 million on him, but if he's available for a 40 or 50, I think it's a deal to be done there.
I mean, if you're looking at the market, if he's our number one choice, there's no reason why we shouldn't spend that, whatever it takes us to get him. Knowing Tottenham, they're going to want the best deal, but I don't think you get him for 40. I think you're going to have to probably spend 50, upwards of 50, 60, and then some potentially even. So for this position, I mean, 60 million shouldn't be an obstacle, but we'll have to wait and see if he's our number one choice, or we've got other targets.
Yeah. And we're going to finish off talking about Amadou Onana of Everton, 22 years of age, 50 million market value. We know they are struggling with the PSR rulings. He's been a bit in and out of the team in the latter stages of the season, and maybe Everton will be willing to do a deal on him with them struggling with PSR at the moment.
Yeah, really good player. Obviously, really energetic, covers so much ground. We've seen that when he's at his flying best, he's really hard to deal with. Whether he can play that number 6 role for Tottenham is a different question. If you're looking at his metrics, obviously you see it here defensively, really great, one of the best defensively, which we know. On the ball, still a lot to be decided. What's decent is dispossessed. He doesn't lose the ball a lot, but when it comes to pass completion, not great. Progressive passes, not great. How much he gets on the ball as well, not great. Although again, how Everton play, they don't see as much of the ball anyway. So,
and does Dyche even ask him to progress the ball?
Yeah, you could argue that. So maybe that's why that's so low. But whenever I watched him, as much as he has impressed me, I don't think I've been impressed ever by his passing ability. Usually, as much as I've seen him spray a few passes around, I don't usually look at him progressing the ball that well. So, I think defensively, again, he's similar to Palhinha. Defensively, definitely more than good enough. But it's whether when we're in possession, when we're dominating a game, and we've got him at the base of our midfield, kind of, dictating it. Is that kind of his game? We'll have to, I guess, that's the jury's still out on that, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah, as a pure destroyer, he would be absolutely brilliant as a pure destroyer. But Ange Postecoglou wants so much more than that as a number 6. And, halfway through the season, I was kind of warming to the idea of he's the guy that we should go for, especially as Spurs loves circling around these kind of teams and these kind of players. But as the season's progressed, I've kind of doubted it a little bit. But having said that, at 22 years of age, he's got massive scope to improve.
Definitely. That's also true.
So out of those 7 players, who is your number 1?
I think Palacios, if we can, if there's possibility to get that done, I think he'd be perfect. In terms of maybe a bit more realistic, probably Florentino Luís. I think he profiles brilliantly, so I think I'd be very interested in him. I think Éderson, obviously, I think he would be a great option as well. So those will probably be my top 3. Will probably be Luís, Palacios number 1 if possible, then Luís and then Éderson.
Yeah, to be honest, I think Luís. Who's Luís?
Who did I say? Louis.
Florentino.
Yeah, Florentino.
Yeah, I mean, all of these players would excite me coming in the summer. I think all of them represent upgrades in what we have right now. In terms of most realistic one, who I think we could probably bring in, it's probably Florentino Luís or Éderson, I think, are probably the 2 most realistic ones. And I think both of them would represent massive, massive upgrades, and there'll be such an excitement for the fans. And you would say, like, that is the 6 for the future, you know what I mean? Both of them at a really good age, not too young, not too old, can grow with this team. So I think those 2 are probably the ones I'd go for. But the one outside the box that maybe is not having a great season this year is Manuel Ugarte, I think he's attainable with what he's shown in the past in the Portuguese league, not getting a fair crack at the wheelie at PSG this season. I think we should try our luck with him. So there you have it. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which CDM would you like to go for? If he's not on our list, put yours in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.